my experience of the Lemurian egg, at the time, I had psoriasis all over my body, and I was doing all my DNA codes for the endocrine system, and it was like I kept hearing the thought form, no matter what I do, I can't heal this. And another thought form was coming, the dark is more powerful than the light on earth. So I asked to source it. Where are those thought forms coming from? And my presence, spirit, guides took me back to Lemuria. So Lemuria was present also, time of Atlantis, Lemuria. Lemuria probably was more nature-based. Atlantis was more technology-based. And they would connect, with each other too. So Lemuria, there was an egg of Lemuria, and it was tended by a huge being, probably made up of many soul groups. And this being, I saw it as feminine, like a mother holding an egg, was if ever the egg was damaged, she would call for light to repair the egg. This time, she called for light, and it didn't happen. The egg exploded, imploded. And when I asked Spirit, why did that happen? And they said, eggs are meant to open. And Lemuria's time was done. And so when that egg exploded, it went to and anchored all around the world, different places, with the gift of Lemuria. And I suppose Avatar movie was more like Lemurian, if you look at Avatar, rather than all the horrible things in Avatar, was the mother tree, all of that is very Lemurian. And so what that being took on, and I said, well, why couldn't she get that it was time to let go of the egg? And they said, because she was so one-pointed, she couldn't hear that it was time to let go of the egg. And she took on, as a being, which affected many soul groups who formed her, two thought forms. One was, no matter what I do, I can't heal it with the light. Therefore, the dark is more powerful than the light. And they were the thought forms from that egg of Lemuria. So if you're watching that, we can say together, I release the belief into the violet light. We can call the violet light chambers to surround us. And we can say, I release the belief that the dark is more powerful than the light on earth. I release the belief that no matter what I do, I can't heal this. And that's in our own life, that's collectively, because what is acting out on the earth is that battle. Call it the battle between the dark and the light, which we have all of that in us. We're on a yin-yang planet of dark and light, but for a long time, the dark has held sway from the free will experiment, what I want, which is Meldick. So they sort of go together, I suppose, which is I want all the resources. I want to have power, rather than what is the highest good for all life, all beings, if I love and respect life here. And so in a way, they sort of go a bit together, Lemuria and Meldick. And so what we need to really encompass is to be the light here, to be these amazing acupressure or acupuncture points. If we can bring in our starry self, we have divine presences, like I've connected to do when I sing in the light language. I do that for my Andromedan higher self, because she activated me to do that. She said, the light language is the language of the soul. And so I had a whole process of, when I was little, there was a bit of abuse in my history, and I'd go in the corner and I'd huddle down and I'd get this feeling and I'd see patterns, and it was like my whole body would change. And I used to call it, when I was young, turning to rubber, because like every cell felt different. And then years later, I was asked to embody my Andromedan higher self. And the first thing I experienced was that feeling. And she said to me, do you recognize this? And I said, yes, that's, the turning to rubber, where all my cells change. And she said, I was always with you, but I couldn't embody until you had done the emotional work. So that took me into rebirthing. That took me into inner child work, to really take responsibility, because how we evolve our endocrine system is our emotional body. If you want to disempower humanity, you attack the endocrine, which is what is trying to happen on our earth. So I've got a whole body of work called DNA Repatterning, which is a code for the true spiritual purpose of every endocrine gland and hormone, to bring light into the body, because light comes from source, light filaments into DNA, pulses a chakra, pulses an endocrine gland associated with it, hormones take it through the blood, and literally that is how we embody who we are here, through our union and through our endocrine system. And so part of my bodies of work are about healing the separation, so we can all walk the earth, bringing in our starry natures and all the gifts we have. Sometimes I've embodied my Pleiadian higher self to do all the flower essence codes, because the Pleiades brought the flower to earth. A lovely light worker, Brian de Flores, says that Syrians bought chocolate and coffee. And if you're denying yourself that, you're denying your Syrian. But that's before the additives were added into it, of course. You've got beautiful cacao. Friends of ours do a beautiful sacred earth medicine, which is beautiful, pure cacao for ceremonies. So, many Venusian higher self, because Venus holds the higher self in a way of love of the earth. And so we do have different higher selves, and sometimes that part of us wants to embody because they have a gift that's part of our own mission here. We need those codes coming from that stargate or portal. We do all have them, and Indigenous people, I've been in Africa, a beautiful teacher, Credo Mutwa, and he honors, the galactic. Indigenous people here in Australia, the original people, honor the Pleiades. Africa, very much Sirius, because different planets have overlighted different countries. Australia apparently is very much overlighted by Pleiades. And so just supporting people, to me, it's not like you're out of your body, you're bringing into your body who you are, and so I have essences for birth, for instance, healing the separation if the cord is cut too soon, because the navel, when the fetus is forming from that same cell, it sends out what becomes a placenta. It's part of the baby. If the cord is cut too soon, blood pours out, the energy doesn't come back to seal the auric field in the tree of life. If you look at a placenta, you can see the tree of life. And so I've got codes and processes to help people go back in time, because the Holy Spirit isn't bound by time, your own Holy Spirit, before that cord is cut, to draw the energy back, seal the field, and you're whole. Because if that cord is cut too soon and that isn't healed, you become either spirit polarized, can't earth, or earthbound, can't connect to spirit. If you look at a placenta, you can see the tree of life in it. We have this beautiful crystalline tree of life within us, but we need to allow the healing to happen. So we can be in the present moment. People often say, I don't want to go back to the past, and say, well, actually, your auric field is full of the past, of things you haven't resolved. So if you want to be in the present moment, then allow yourself not to be held back by thought forms of the past. And so a lot of my work is with thought forms to clear them so we can look again. And then we're not having that reflected back. If I have a belief I'm not lovable, that goes out, and people come into my life and prove to me that I'm unlovable, and so that's showing me that I have a thought that I'm unlovable. And so it's about not being a victim. It's not like you did this to me. It's rather you showed me something about myself that I need to do that inner work. And so, yeah.
Thank you so much, Kaliana. It was beautiful. Just listening to your voice and, following and what you are showing. It does make so much sense to me. And I'm doing similar work, in whatever I do. And you won't believe me that after our session, actually, I could see now that I had to do the work on connecting this masculine and feminine inside of me through other tools, through constellation work, through other, but I was clearly kind of demonstrated how they sound and what they stand for. It's the vibration, its frequency, it's I don't know what, each of them have their own mission, right? And they complement each other. And so I can feel them both inside me, like you showed me this yin yang symbol. It's almost like you can switch the gears, but even when you switch the gears, there is the dot of another color reminding you still have it in you. It just, one doesn't exist without the other. And that's the way, it's how I see it.
And I honor you. It was beautiful to give you a session. Part of my mission, I love working with light workers to help them remember who they are, so they'll do what they're here to do. We can all go home to ourselves here, or to spirit if it's the end of our life. I don't know how many more years I've left. I'll be 76 in August. And so I'm trying to complete my mission here. And so part of that obviously is talking to you. And that's why I said yes. It's like why I said yes to writing about Meldek in the gratitude diary, because, I can't reach everybody, but maybe someone will listen to this who go, yes, that's something I need to resolve in my place, so I can birth who I am here and allow all my, part of the Meldek, this card is all about birthing the gifts of spirit, not letting that stop you. When in 1994, a friend and I were asked to circle the earth. And in circling the earth, we were asked to sing open the sites of the feminine that had been closed down for 2,000 years. It took 3.5 months, and between us, we circled the earth. We went to Korea first, Seijido at the bottom of Matrilineal Island. We went to Ireland, Wales, Scotland. Then she went, and France. Then she went Holland, Africa home. I went America, Hawaii home. And singing open the sights of the feminine, I didn't realize I was collecting all these Magdalene codes. So they started coming out of me like discs, and I've drawn all those. And on my website is a whole series called The Magdalene Codes of the Solar Wisdom of Sophia, the Magdalene Codes. So I'm trying to leave legacies, that if people, because we're all contracted, you would be, Ohana, in your work, that your contractors help certain souls and they find you. And I'm contracted the same. That's why you found me, that I was contracted to help you in your puzzle piece, which is beautiful. And so no one's, it said, if a teacher says, I've got it all together, I don't trust them. Because I say, well, why are you still here? So I'm still working through things. My husband and I are still, we're about to get ready to run a sacred union workshop. So stuff comes up a bit more for us. And when we get to the workshop, we find that's the very issue that's coming. So we're holding space for that. And you can't, as a facilitator, you can't just, like for instance, doing all the flower essence codes, I couldn't just say, oh, I just do all these codes. They came through me to offer healing to me. And some of it was intense. It doesn't have to be that way for everyone. But the divas, part of the fairy worlds, were shut down as well. So part of my work has been trying to open the bridges for the fairy worlds again with humanity, because there was a lot of wounding between the humans and the fairy or devic kingdoms. And so that's my mission. And I think everyone has a mission.